Live from New York City, it's Wearable Electronics with your host, Becky Stern.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show today. It's December 12th. We're live here from the Adafruit factory in downtown New York City. With
Live
me
and
is
direct.
my co-host, Mr. Collin Cunningham. Thanks for being here, Collin.
Thanks for being here, Becky.
Sure.
It would be awkward if you weren't here.
I guess so.
Have you ever not been here?
Yeah, one time. And they crossed out Becky Stern for Lady Ada. Lady Ada hosted the show for me instead. It was really fun.
Nice.
Collin, we're here to talk about some wearable electronics. What's on today's show?
Wearable Electronics?
Yeah.
We're in business. It's happening. Specifically, we'll be covering Wearable Wednesday, and we'll find out what this thing is.
And take it apart.
And take it apart. It might actually be in the shot right now, and you just can't see it because it's so subtle. Shot of us. Point it out. Also, we'll be covering a component of the week remixed.
This would be the Feather 32U4 Basic Proto. We're going to talk about that later on the show.
Right, you spoiled the surprise, but it's
It
cool.
doesn't have to be a surprise. You can look forward to it still now, because you know what it is.
Bated breath. And above and beyond that, we'll be covering tools that we love. We skip over the tools that we hate because that's boring. And this is a tool that I know some things about.
This would be Circuit Playground. Adafruit's reference app comes to Android. So we'll be talking about that later in the show today as well.
Also be receiving some Qs and giving some As.
If you have any wearable electronics questions, you can ask them now or later in the comments on Google+, on YouTube, on the Adafruit blog, on Twitter, and in the forums, and we'll gather them up and talk about them on a future show and make you eligible to win the show's giveaway. Today's giveaway is a Flora.
Flora. For the lucky questioner. Question asker. For the lucky curious. Be curious. Ask questions. We'll answer later. And if you would like to get a 10% discount in the Adafruit store this week, you can use the discount code teardown. That's 10% off everything, excluding the gift certificates and software, and it expires at 11:59 p.m. Okay, it's Wednesday. We're
It's
feeling the
Wednesday.
wearables.
Yeah, I saw that there's some other wearables, some wearable device companies are doing Wearable Wednesday sale today. And
Catching on.
It's catching on. Yeah, Wearable Wednesday is catching on.
This would be the next Black Friday.
Sure.
I like this one better.
Oh, is it the day before Thanksgiving then? Wearable Wednesday?
Yep. Yeah. Bring all your... I'll have to work that out. We'll get some traditions going.
We'll work on it. Anyway, on Wearable Wednesday, every week on the Adafruit blog, we post about your projects, industry news, all kinds of interesting things going on in the world of wearable electronics, and post them up. So you can find a link to, there's a card on this video with a link to the blog post, but let's just talk about some of my favorite highlights from this week.
Like this. More.
Yeah, I know, this one's really exciting. This is
that
Lupita Nyong'o from Star Wars, the new Star Wars, wearing the Zac Posen LED dress that debuted at Fashion Week a little bit ago, and she wore this dress in her appearance on The Daily Show last Wednesday night, and then afterwards to the Force for Fashion party afterwards. And really cool project that brings awareness for coding for girls to like a place like where, you know, sci-fi, like to a sci-fi place where an actress who you look up to in a movie could be encouraging you to get a career in computer science. It's pretty cool.
I like the design because it doesn't really try to hide or incorporate too subtly the electronics. It is lit.
It is lit, and it's a display, and you can design animations for it using the Google Made with Code tool.
Right.
That the girls used for designing the animations that appear on this dress. And so like that's a really cool thing to be a part of a project where you participate online using this simple to learn coding language, and then it results in an LED animation that walks the runway. I think that's like a
pretty satisfying.
Yeah, it's a good benefit proposition.
Yeah, definitely. Good payoff.
So looking forward to seeing like where else that dress ends up, and because you know it uses a Flora and NeoPixels.
Could be in a museum soon.
Sure.
But not only that, we also have, this is the family tree of wearables. Now, this is, you were explaining to me before, this is a map of the development of wearable technology.
Yes, it's really just a description. It really just describes this article that Brian Ballard wrote for TechCrunch.
Yeah.
Really nice long article breaking down like the last, by decade pretty much, the last 40 years of technology influences and events that are resulted in the current state of wearables and Internet of Things. So he talks a lot about like the proliferation of personal devices, like the Walkman and the iPod and the PDA and the digital camera, and then how they kind of like converged back and got slurped up into the smartphone, and then how now the smartphone is the new hub, and like the parts are nice and cheap because the smartphones are in high demand, etc. Anyway, it's a really interesting article. I enjoyed reading it. Thought you might like to as well.
Yeah, it's good to mention virtual reality in there, since that was like a wake up when everybody came back to that. I'm like, well, we can do this now because smartphones made all these parts affordable. And
you know, that Jamiroquai song is like, it's like really ahead of its time.
Okay. Isn't that virtual insanity?
I think there's got some virtual reality line in there, right?
It's perhaps a play.
No, you're right. The song is called Virtual Insanity.
A play on words.
I just mean that it was ahead of its time, because if it's not about VR, then what's it about?
You know, I would love to experience a virtual insanity through virtual reality. I'm big into, maybe like a Philip K. Dick inspired kind of thing or something.
I just really want to recreate that Jamiroquai video, but everyone's wearing VR headsets.
You just want to dance in a small room and get all...
There's a people mover in there, right? Like a treadmill.
Right, and like
floor?
He has the definition of funky top hat on or something.
And, yeah, right. Anyway.
Okay, I'm moving right along.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Speaking of VR.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, right? Sony had a PlayStation event recently where they demonstrated this synesthesia suit for the VR game Res Infinite. You've played the non-VR version of Res. Could you briefly describe what that game is all about?
Rhythm-based psychedelic shooter?
Sure. Okay.
Third person.
That's a genre now, right? Do you think that Res was the first? Like, there's what's it called?
Yeah,
something of Eden. There's another one.
Like a forerunner.
Sure. Okay. Cool. So this suit has vibrating motors for haptic feedback, like to help you feel the music more.
Okay.
And if you go to the next video,
right. That was in the background. We saw this.
Right. There's like I think there's this one with the LEDs on it, and then the one that the guy was wearing, and that's all. It's just like a proof of concept thing. This is at the event. The game's creator Tetsuya Mizuguchi is wearing the suit while playing the game, and I can only assume that those LEDs are animating to show like what the suit is haptically doing. Otherwise, like, how would you be able to tell what it's doing? But very funny and cool stage presentation, and neat proof of concept. I think haptic feedback is really going to go far, or we have a lot to develop in the haptic feedback area, and in gaming, I could see huge applications for, you can feel when you get hit by
I'm already liking wrist tap notifications. So
yeah, nice.
I can see more.
So pretty crazy. Here is a project from Zay from our Hong Kong reseller called Feed Your Brain. They made some LED stego spikes with NeoPixels and
crystalline looking ones.
And they put them on this cool shawl thing and brought it to the Hong Kong Maker Faire 2015 and showed it off and shared with us this really fun video of everybody trying it on, and also they have a Gemma beanie too. So really cool. It was nice to meet them at New York Maker Faire, and then so if you're in Hong Kong, definitely you can pick up some Adafruit parts from them.
Very cool. Yeah, I like with the fur. It's a nice.
Yeah, it gives it that prehistoric kind of vibe, right?
Prehysterical. I don't know where that comes from. Okay. I like this too. This is from Alessandro Matera from Italy. Yeah, it's called the Keychainino. Keychainino. It's a very small little game pad that you can put on your keychain. It has 2 buttons and some games, so you can. If you get bored, I know I can't sit still for. I always have to have an activity with me, like knitting or. You'd be all set.
I'd be all set if I was in a waiting room or something.
It sounds like a Japanese name. Keychainino.
Keychainino. Well, it's Italian.
I know, but I'm just saying it doesn't sound Italian.
Okay, I think it sounds Italian and Japanese.
It sounds good. Let's agree to agree. And beyond that, our featured.
Yeah, our debut video this week is the teardown of the Lumo Lift, and the video tells it all, so we'll just play it for you.
Okay, video, tell me it all.
Welcome to another Adafruit Wearables teardown. Today we're taking a look at the Lumo Lift. It's a posture sensing wearable you attach to your shirt with a magnet, and it vibrates when you slouch. The companion app has some rudimentary activity tracking, as well as tracking your number of hours with good posture. If you're a desk jockey like me, this can come in handy to help protect you from back pain and other posture-related problems. The oval-shaped wearable goes on the inside of your shirt, and it's held in place with a really strong magnet. It comes with a couple different styles to go with your different outfits, including a bra clip for the ladies. This tiny device has a lot of computing power packed inside, so let's see what Lady Ada has to say about the design of the board.
Okay, we're here with the Lumo Lift. Got excellent posture thanks to this lovely wearable. It's a really interesting and fun design. It's a little kind of a bean shape with a bunch of chips on the front of here, and then we have a LiPo rechargeable battery on the back and a little buzzer vibration motor. Becky took this apart so we can go straight and look at the chips. So let's look at the top of the circuit board first. Okay, under the microscope. So let's start over here. We've got the NRF 8001. This is a classic early Bluetooth Low Energy chip. We've carried a breakout for this little chip for quite a while. It does Bluetooth Low Energy, so it works with Android and iOS and basically desktop computers as of Windows 8 and Mac as well. So that's a good protocol choice. This is controlled by over here. There's the actual processor. This is the EFM32 Gecko. This is a Scilabs chip. These are fun little chips. They're a good price, and people who like Scilabs processors will dig these. On the side here, there's a little crystal for it. So this is actually what does all of the button listening, controlling the SPI interface for the Nordic NRF 8001 Bluetooth chip, as well as any data storage or all that other good stuff. So that processor has a programming port over here. You can see SWD, SWC. So this is some sort of maybe a Cortex ARM chip over here. That's a pretty standard programming procedure for them. Reset VCC ground. So this is your little programming and debugging port. Over here we have this pretty big chip that says Winbond 25032. Well, this is a pretty standard 8-pin SPI flash, the 25 series SPI, 24 series I2C. So it could be, maybe there's no EEPROM or other sort of storage on this chip, so you're going to use this external chip for storing data. Maybe this keeps track of your slouching or posture history, and that's done in here. So you've got the Bluetooth that's communicating with your phone. You got a 16 megahertz crystal over here that goes with it. And then over here is our familiar favorite, the LIS3DH, which is the triple axis accelerometer, pretty low cost, only about 50 cents, used all the time for everything, very low power, but has a very wide range of function from plus or minus 2G up to plus or minus 16G. And then over here, there's another little chip, not so sure what this is, but it's really close to this motor driver. So I'm gonna guess that this, here you have M and M minus. This is probably a motor driver, either a smart processor chip that can actually do effects, or it could be just a straight up transistor that's just used to turn it on or off, depending on how smart they want to do the motor management inside the processor. And then over here we have a little bit of analog stuff. It's probably voltage regulators, battery charging. There's a couple of test points for the battery and USB. And then here is a little tactile switch that's just made with a dome and then a piece of tape. So they just tape the dome on top. You kind of see the tape over here. And then this is what listens for button presses. I also have a teeny little LED over here. You can barely see this little shiny point. And then this is the antenna for the Nordic NRF 8001. This is your Bluetooth Low Energy antenna. It's interesting that they didn't decide going with, what we've seen a couple times is that NRF 51822, which would combine this processor and this processor. Could be that this was designed earlier, or maybe the person who designed this was like, well, the combined price is about the same, and I know the EFM32 processor way more. It's all good. And then on the back, you've got these two pads. These connect to those little pogo springs that allow you to recharge the battery. And then this is the battery, which is soldered right on. It's a standard little LiPo, 80 milliamp hour, comes from Shenzhen, Honghao Sheng Electronics. You can call them up and ask them all about it. And there's a little bit of tape that just kept this down. Date code when this was made. Looks like this was made in the 20th week of 2015. And then the place that actually made it, Kangyu, not sure exactly. and then of course that little buzzer motor. So that's it. It's pretty much just your kind of standard 32-bit processor, NRF 8001 Bluetooth Low Energy, a little bit of data storage, and then of course the accelerometer. The accelerometer is what detects your tilt. This is going to measure how that board is affected by gravity. You calibrate it, and then looks for deviations plus or minus a certain percentage or degrees from that calibrated point. I think the List 3DH even has an alert system that allows you to tell it, hey, warn me when I move more than this much deviation from my starting point. So maybe that's a way to reduce the power. You don't have the processor sitting there constantly polling. You actually have the accelerometer maybe alerting you. So it's a simple design, nice and compact, really cute little layout. Altogether, a cute little posture sensor.
For this and many other teardowns, we use these tools and the Adafruit USB microscope with its articulated stand. Thanks so much for watching. You can find more wearables teardowns at the playlist in the description, and don't forget to subscribe.
Back around.
Cool. So that's the Lumo Lift. I am wearing, we got two. I have been wearing this one regularly.
I am not wearing one, yes.
What
Little
I like,
black square.
Little black square, right? So it matches. You can see it if I turn in the light, and then when I take it off, oops, I drop the magnet, and then I don't wear it at all anymore. It's okay, leave it.
Yep.
And the device itself, the big button in the middle, you can see it on the circuit board there. It makes it really easy to press like the whole unit when you want to calibrate it. And I'll put it up against my mic. You can see what it sounds like. Did you guys? I saw just a tiny bit go on the thing. Anyway, just a little haptic feedback. I've noticed it's made a difference in my back pain from sitting because I just have such bad posture. I just end up like this with the computer and like just sit up straight. It's nice.
And one of the most important features that you mentioned to me was that it reminds you to wear it.
Yes, the app does. So I don't find myself using the app that much, and it does report on your statistics of how your posture has been monitored while you're wearing the device, and then it does some step counting too. But what I like about it is you don't have to use the app to find, I don't find myself checking the app to make the device useful. It's useful because it very simply just reminds me to sit up straight by itself. So I like that. I like that as a feature, kind of, that it doesn't rely so heavily on the app, and I'm not spending yet another 5 minutes on my smartphone every day, working on this thing. But what did you say? Oh, about it reminding you. What the app does do is it sends push notifications every morning to remind you to put on the device, and I thought that was very clever, both from a user standpoint and from a business standpoint, because the biggest problem with these little wearable devices right now is retention. People will try them for a week or a couple weeks, and then they'll stop wearing it.
Getting people to incorporate them into their daily routine.
Right.
Wearing them.
So providing a continued value proposition. And really something like this only works if you wear it every day. Mm-hmm. So I find it's a vast improvement over their previous version of this product, which was called the Lumo Back, and it was a waistband thing that just it made me really grumpy pants because it would vibrate. It was around me, and it would vibrate without the 2-minute slouch delay. So it would as soon as you slouch, it would do it, and it was kind of
whack.
Cracking the whip a little too hard. Yeah, but this is a major improvement. Super neat. I'm going to continue wearing mine. You can get different magnetic brooch designs to there's some for Christmas and to match all your different outfits. I think it's super fun. What's funny about it for me though is that the haptic notification, the buzz feeling from my Ringly and from my phone, I'm sort of been trained to interpret that as a phone, a communication message. Oh, I have a text.
Snap response.
So but here's my typical use, right? I'm slouching and I'm using the computer, and then it buzzes, and I go, oh, I have a text. I mean, I was slouching, and so I end up sitting up straight anyway.
So it baits you a little bit in a way with a different motivation.
I just think it's funny that haptic feedback on me so far has been claimed for phone notifications.
You'll get more gradients to your response,
I hope
I'm
so.
sure. As the paths branch, we shall see.
Anyway.
Early days.
In other news on the site,
gift guide.
We have a gift guide every weekday until our shipping deadlines are over, basically, and for all different types of makers and giftees. Today's gift guide is by Leslie, and it's for artists and crafters, and it's really cute and goes through the different types of artist and crafter you might be, like a photographer or a sculptor or a writer, and like
I know plenty. Yeah.
what might be a good gift for those types of folks. So that helps you if you know of things that your gifties like to grab, or you can also take a look for yourself and add those things to your wish list for. I know that makers are kind of hard to shop for, I think.
Yeah.
Because like I find
Unless
people
you have a gift guide, I guess.
Right, people don't want to give me things that they think would actually be useful because they're afraid they don't know enough.
Yep.
To like meet whatever, like
Sure.
oh that's just like the wrong one, or they won't give me handmade gifts because they think I'm going to judge their hand making skills, which is really a bummer because I like handmade gifts.
Yeah.
And I don't
Try to
judge
break
them.
that wall,
Yeah,
though.
I know, right? Well, anyway.
Well, if you are picking up any gifts for artists, crafters, or people of any walk of life from the Adafruit store, do use the discount code teardown for 10% off your purchases, excluding gift certificates and software. And that expires at 11:59 p.m. So, it's the week, and there is a component. We're going to talk about it. The component of the week this week is...
This is the Adafruit Feather 32U4 Basic Proto.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first feather board we've talked about on the Wearable Show. So if you don't know what those are yet, or you haven't been on the site in the last couple of weeks to see the massive number of feathers raining down as though we were in a pillow fight.
Right. There is a headdress full of feathers here.
Here's one of them. The feather boards are meant to be super tiny, lightweight, small, powerful microcontroller, Arduino compatible microcontroller boards with an onboard LiPoly charger.
Mm-hmm.
And so in essence, this is like the same microcontroller as a Flora, but in a non-sewable, teeny tiny package with a LiPoly charger on board. And the other flavors of the feather, like the Bluetooth one and the Wi-Fi one, and there's several more.
Mm-hmm.
They have different items in this prototyping space. So this one is the very basic model that just has a little prototyping area, so you can add like a light sensor or an accelerometer or like whatever you want in that little area, and then not have your circuit be any bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But do check the site for the other flavors too. We might cover them on future episodes as we use them in projects. I think that this would be useful for, say, so it comes with the headers. You can solder them on or not.
For breadboarding.
For breadboarding. And I would say that because this is the same chip as on the Flora, this is a good option for prototyping your Flora projects on a breadboard, because then the code will port over and you'll have to just make sure you use the same pins that are broken out on the Flora for your Feather dev.
Narrow down your functionality first and make sure you removed all other variables with sewables or whatever.
Right.
Thread. Yeah.
Sure, but but you can't put your Flora in a breadboard, so this is a nice way to do some plugging instead of alligator clipping. For example, I have some more stats, right? Like the onboard LiPoly charger connects to all of our 3.7 volt lithium batteries. It's 2 inches by 0.9 inches by 0.28 inches, so without the header, super small. Only weighs 4.8 grams, so if you're making like a satellite project where your payload is super important to be very light, light as a feather, this might be for you. And it does the USB bootloader, just like any of our other 32U4 boards. Pin 13's got a red LED on it, like on your Arduino Uno for testing onboard stuff. 8 PWM outputs, 10 analog inputs, hardware serial, hardware I2C, hardware SPI, and 20 GPIO pins. So really powerful little board, and great for making your projects super tiny. If you would like to pick up a feather, you can use the discount code. Yeah, you can get 10% off.
I was waiting for a pun, but I was
out.
out.
I know, I don't have any more feathers.
Oh, from me. You can use the discount code teardown to pick up a feather. They're pretty light as it is, for 10% off, excluding gift certificates and software in the Adafruit store, expiring at 11:59 p.m.
All right, we got to hustle through. We have 2 more segments. Collin.
Boom. Tools we love.
So, remember we've talked about Circuit Playground, the app before? Just go to the first.
I do remember.
Circuit Playground is our reference app that Collin originally wrote. That what did Adafruit do? License it, buy it, like whatever. Now it's an Adafruit
spun
app.
it off from something else, and it's grown into more than it was before, and has a lot of features and a lot of calculators built in. Now it's been ported by our good friend Antonio to Android.
That's really handy for me because I don't use any iOS devices currently, and yet I frequently need the calculators that are in here in this app. So you tell us a
there's
little
a
bit
lot.
more about the calculators.
There's a lot in them. There's calculators for component values like resistor values and capacitor values, a bunch of different circuit calculators. It's too much to list. Good examples are really the resistor color code.
That way you can put, if you find a resistor you don't know the value, you can plug the colors in and it'll tell you the value. If you're looking for a resistor of a specific value, you can type in the value, it'll show you the colors, you can go find it in your drawer.
You can enter the colors in to get the value or vice versa.
I find it super handy, even though I generally remember the colors. I'm dyslexic and get all confused about the multiplier, and really helps to have a visual aid.
It also supports 5-band resistors, those strange ducks.
Ooh, yeah.
Also the LED resistor calculator, where you can give it the value of your LED and find out what value resistor you need to power the LED. And you can punch in predetermined values for standard color LEDs, the 5 millimeter ilk. And of course, everyone's favorite Ohm's law, the Ohm's law triangle. You can visually get the equation going there.
Yeah, and you have two sides. I mean, it'll solve for any one side that you don't have,
Yeah.
so you have two, and it'll.
When
give
you've
you the
written
third.
these things, it becomes so etched in stone. It's like, what else do you say about that? Oh yeah, you can see it from the outside. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, you can punch in any of the 3 values to get the other.
The remaining one.
The remaining
Yeah.
2.
That's really would have been really handy for me in physics class in high school.
Sorry, no time machines yet.
I did
there's-
okay. I mean.
Well, good. I'm proud of you.
It also has reference pinout diagrams for many of the common microprocessors that are used in Arduinos and similar things like that. So you can quickly look up like what pin is doing your stuff
Sure,
for like
sure.
interrupts and stuff that's not labeled on the board that you need to remember.
And once you've used all these tools to make a project that you are proud of and want to share with the world, you can, from within the app, send a photo to us, to Adafruit, and show and tell
Yeah, and
your
we'll
project.
put it on the blog.
It's all there, all encapsulated.
And now for Android. So that's the big news. Circuit Playground's been around for a while, but now on Android devices, so people like me who are only on Android really for any meaningful stuff
Right.
can use it, and it's really, really, really useful. I kept around, so I have that old iPad, and basically kept it around just so I could use this app, Collin.
Oh, thanks. Now you can do whatever you want with it.
It doesn't have Bluetooth Low Energy, so it's
Right.
not useful otherwise to me.
Right. All right. Can still
I
be
have
a
an Android
dedicated
tablet
circuit
that I
blender.
use for that,
Yeah.
and now I can put Circuit Playground on it. Yay. Okay, so that means now that all of our apps, right? All of our apps are cross-platform now.
They are. Yes.
If you like that our apps are cross-platform, you can get 10% off your whole order. It does not apply to the Google Play Store or the
Only if you like that they're cross-platform.
If you don't like that they're cross-platform, then why? Anyway, okay, questions. Let's just jump right into questions since we're going into
answers.
overtime here.
These are them. You ask a question, get an answer. We'll pick one lucky winner to win the winning prize of winners, which is a Flora today.
Yes, it is. Okay, what's the first question?
The first question looks a little bit like this. Michael asks, I have a wearable project I am designing that will use a lot of NeoPixels. Though only 8 to 16 of those 80 NeoPixels will be lit simultaneously, I am going to power them separately from the processor with a large LiPo battery. Additionally, because I need many control pins, 10 to 12, I am planning on using a Feather or Trinket Pro, which leads to the question of voltage. I've seen comments that the signal voltage and power voltage on the NeoPixels must be the same. If so, then I am faced with powering entirely at 5 volts, which would provide maximum brightness, or 3.3 volts and lower the brightness. How much lower would it be? I like the low battery shutoff with the power boost with 5 volt circuits. Is there similar for 3.3 volts? Advantages of running 3.3 volts versus 5 volts, Ms. Stern?
So,
A lot of variables in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables going on. My first question would be, why do you need so many control pins? Maybe that has to do
Is
with
that
a
for the
different
project,
part,
or
or
is
just the
that-
NeoPixels. Because the NeoPixels, you can just keep them all on the same strand, just to be clear, and just direct your code at certain subsets of that strand. I have run 2 strings of NeoPixels at the same time, like on different control pins, but it takes up a lot of memory to instantiate that.
That could surprise you, yeah.
Anyway, but maybe he needs lots of control pins for like his buttons or whatever, like some other reason he needs lots of control
Sounds
pins.
like it could be, yeah.
And Flora only has like 8 exposed to you, so that makes sense. It doesn't really matter. So if you look at any of the Flora or Gemma projects, like they're all 3 volts. So do those look too dim to you? I mean, like they're so blindingly bright that we
Yeah.
usually actually dial down the brightness to like 80 in the set brightness
Yep.
in the setup code so that it isn't so blindingly bright. So I don't think you're going to find a meaningful difference between the brightness at 3 volts or 5 volts, although I know that they can handle 5 volts, but you're just going to find them so bright.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be fine with 3 volts. And the advantages are just like you said, like your bill of materials on the 5 volt might allow for that power boost that gives you that low power cutoff that you want, where we don't have a device that, a power boost for 3 volts that there's no power boost for 3 volts, so you're not going to get that functionality. But but maybe you want the Feather because it can do the like USB HID keyboard because it's 32U4 versus the Pro Trinket that's the Atmega 328. So that's like a simpler one, like that's on your Arduino Uno. But the 3 volt 5 volt thing is not going to make a meaningful difference for the brightness of your pixels.
Right. Not unless you're talking like trying to push to the limit with room lighting or something. It's not going to be an issue.
Well, he's only also lighting a few of them at a time, which is the way to go, by the way. That's smart.
Okay.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. Aaron writes, looking for a good starter project for wearables for students new to the whole game of making. Any ideas? Oh, I think we'll have a few ideas.
Sure. For students who've never made anything before and even like LEDs and batteries might be a little too scary. I think that the ELY or Tron hoodie is a really good starter project. You can do it as a workshop pretty easily. You get a lot of impact for a little bit of effort. It doesn't take that much crafting skills. You just have to sew it around the edge, and
everybody's got a hoodie, and it's really good payoff. Yeah.
Right, it's a good payoff for effort expended, and the stitching is pretty forgiving. So even if you're not great at sewing, that's okay. You really don't have to do any wiring except to cut off the extra at the end of your project. So that's a really simple one. If you're looking for something even a little bit more advanced, still in the super beginner category, but a different, the LED route would be check out our LED sequin bow tie. You don't have to make it in a bow tie, newsflash. Any of our projects, you can take the circuit diagram and put it in anything else.
A little creative exercise built in there if you want.
Yeah, so this is just 4 LED sequins in parallel on a battery holder, so no programming required, but there is some sewing with conductive thread. So I've done this type of project with LEDs and a battery sewing with conductive thread with students ranging from like 8 to 85, and they all seem to be able to handle this project as a first project. It's got a little bit more, it depends on, if you only have an hour and a half, do the hoodies. If you have 3 hours, do the LED sewing.
It's a good step number 1, step number 2.
But those are just 2 of our beginner wearables projects on the Adafruit Learning System. If you look through the wearables category there, you'll find a lot more, some of which might be suitable for your audience.
Many options. D writes, hi Becky, love the show. Want to create a friend compass with 2 Flora, 2 Bluefruit modules, 2 NeoPixel rings, and compass sensor, which point to each other. Possible?
Sure.
Possible?
Sure.
SD?
Here's how I would do this. This is a rather advanced project, just put it out there.
Right.
The way I would go about it, and there are many ways to go about different projects, but the way I would think of it is to use Adafruit.io, which is our cloud data service, and push GPS tracking from your phone and your mate's phone into one dashboard, 2 feeds, onto the same I/O account, and then you can have the Flora Bluetooth module, NeoPixel ring compass, pulling over Bluetooth connection from your phone the MQTT data from Adafruit.io to pull down the two locations, and then then you can use and an example for how to push GPS data to Adafruit.io is in Tony's Track Your Treats GPS Candy Tracker project. And then I would combine that with the navigation section of the Flora Neo Geo watch code, which takes 2 GPS points and does some triangulation between them to figure out which direction it's in, and then show that on the NeoPixel ring with the help of the compass, because the compass knows which way you're already pointing. So that's why you can't use the phone's compass. You can use the phone's GPS, but in order to know which way it's facing, like at the time for the display, you need the compass. So yeah, I would mash up those 2 projects as a start, and could take you pretty far. again, it's a pretty ambitious project. So if you haven't worked with any of those things before, I would take them one piece at a time, like make a Flora Bluetooth project that maybe animates a NeoPixel ring, and like then make an Adafruit IO project, and then combine them together.
Work in your modules, build them up. It'd be fun though. Sounds like a good
Yeah,
one.
it sounds like a fun project. I'd love to see it.
Big K 1974 writes, I'm just starting to get into using these products and have many business-related uses for them. However, my first foray into using the LSM303 sensors has me a little confused. I read that these sensors can be daisy-chained by connecting the second set of SCL and SDA pins to another sensor. However, I am reading elsewhere that all the sensors I have a common address, so multiple sensors cannot be used, which is correct. I don't want to screw something up by hooking up two sensors in a daisy chain if it should not be hooked up that way. Also, if they can be daisy chained, does the power simply run in series to each sensor while the SCL and SDA connect in to out? If they cannot be daisy chained, what sensors would best be used for this? What I'm trying to accomplish is basic body motion tracking. I have a program that will read the data input from the sensor, say the sensors are on your shoulder, elbow, and hand, for example, and will animate a virtual dummy with the same motions. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. So when you ask which is correct, they're both correct. I2C devices have an address, but different I2C devices have different addresses. So all the LSM303 sensors are going to have the same address, and all of the light sensors are going to have the same address. So if you look at our Flora sensors tutorial on the Adafruit Learning System, it'll go into more detail about how they relate to each other. But basically, you can have one of each type of sensor daisy chained together with the I2C lines, which are your SDL and SDA pins. And yes, the power is just in, it's not in series, it's in parallel, where like all the powers are connected, all the grounds are connected, because they're all pulling from the same place. So if you want to do more, you can't have more than one LSM303 on your I2C bus, or you're not going to get accurate readings from both of them.
They have the same addresses.
They have the same addresses. How can the postman like drop off your mail if two houses have the same address?
Need of a change of address form, but that's a whole other story.
That's it, yeah. Anyway, you can have, if you want two accelerometers, you could use an LSM303 and the 9DOF, which is an accelerometer plus other stuff. And but for your needs, I would imagine you want to use like a software SPI with an accelerometer that supports software SPI, because then you can have multiple of the same accelerometer just on different software SPI pins. It'll use up more pins on your microcontroller, but that sounds like that's all you're doing is pulling sensor data. You're not also having a bunch of buttons or outputs, so you maybe could get away with it that way. So yeah, no more than one LSM303 on your daisy chain, but all the Flora sensors will daisy chain together with one of each.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Moving forward with that project. Good luck. All right, moving forward.
Oh, we're doing this now.
With this project, we're giving away.
Would you pick a winner from the sticky burn
I
hat,
will.
please?
It's happening now. This is the winner right here. Trust me, it's happening. It's D.
Congratulations, D.
You are the winner.
You've won that's nice. You've won our Flora giveaway today. You can email support@adafruit.com to claim your prize. And if you didn't win, but you still want a Flora or anything else, you can use code teardown to get 10% off your whole order, excluding gift certificates and software. Expires 11:59 p.m. tonight. Okay, quickly, since we are over time, please subscribe to our daily newsletters at adafruitdaily.com. We just added a new biohacking one.
Biohacking, right.
But there's also wearables tips, general electronics tips, maker business, and then 3D printing is coming soon. So we won't spam you. It's not connected to your store account or anything like that. It's just its own newsletter. So if you want that, go sign up at adafruitdaily.com. If you want more Adafruit live shows,
I do.
Tune in tonight, 7:30 for Show and Tell. That's our Google Plus Hangout where folks show off their own projects, and you can participate too. You just RSVP at the Google Plus page event. And then after that at 8 is Lady Ada and Mystery Lady Ada on Ask an Engineer. So that's happening tonight. Tomorrow is 3D Thursday, and you can watch the 3D Thursday Hangout. That's Noe and Pedro's long-form show about 3D printing. It's kind of like this, but for 3D printing questions, techniques, tools, cool printers and software, stuff like that. And thanks so much for joining us today on another Wearable Show. Collin?
It's been enchanting as always.
Likewise.
I hope you'll have me back.
I will.
Cool.
Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube to find out when we're broadcasting and releasing new videos. And we'll see you next week.